Welcome to the Didactic Tailoring by Giuseppe. Today I present Sun, a card game against bullying. When a bully attacks us, he takes a flaw, we all have flaws, and he hammers that flaw day after day. In this way, when we look in the mirror, we don't see our weaknesses and strengths, but we only see the flaw that the bully has targeted. To to get out from this of this fixation, we need creativity. We need to see beyond the bully's criticism. For this teaching activity, I took inspiration from the site The Uncomfortable, in which the Greek architect and designer Caterina Camprani presents her creations, objects of everyday life, sabotaged and made useless or uncomfortable. In the description of this video, I leave the links to the site and to a TED Talk of Caterina Camprani. This activity is called Sun, and there is the image of the sun with the black dot. The black dot symbolizes our flaws. 3 rounds, 8 groups are formed, and a scoreboard with the pairing is drawn. The first round is the round of the useless objects, 8 teams, and so 8 cards. And the images are Caterina Camprani's objects. The second round, the defects, the flaws, 4 teams, the semi-final. And the third round, the round of the poison offenses, with the final with 2 teams and 2 cards. This is an example of the scoreboard. First round, 8 cards, the useless objects. This is an example of a card with a glass full of thorns. With the card, each group has to take a form divided by the red line in 2 parts. The first part, the team has to answer to this question. In 1 sentence, describe why the object depicted on the card is useless. This is the answer of a team. This is the answer I gave. This object is useless because a glass with thorns cannot be held right without hurting yourself. Here, the teacher has to introduce a sentence that overturns the point of view, that changes the perspective. This sentence is Thomas Edison's sentence: just because something doesn't do what you planned it to do, doesn't mean it's useless. And so the second part of the task is to write an advert for the useless object. The name of the product to be advertised, I chose Spiny. Advertising slogan, I wrote the glass for special guests. Explain the use of the product you are advertising. This glass should be in every home for special guests who get drunk often but is trying to quit. It is rude not to offer him anything, then you offer him wine in this class. In this way, you will have achieved two objectives. You will not be rude, in fact, you offered the wine, and your host will stay away from the wine. The second round, 4 cards, it's the semifinals. There are two semifinals. The defects, the flaws. This is an example of a card. Cry Baby. This is the flaw. And with the card, each group, each team has to take a form divided into parts. The first part of the task is to answer this question. Create and describe in a few sentences a character who has the flaw written in the card you drew. This is the answer. Mirko, an example of the answer, is 13 years old and have a very big flaw. He is a whiner. Every time he encounters a difficulty, he freezes and begins to cry. The other day, he lost his mobile phone, and instead of looking for it, he sat down and started crying. Now, the sentence that overturns the point of view. This is an Albert Einstein sentence, even although I don't think Einstein ever said this sentence, but this is a good sentence. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. And so the second part of the task. Describe a situation where the character uses his flaw as an advantage to gain an advantage. Mirko and his classmates go on a school trip to Rome. During a stop, they move away from the professors for a moment to buy a sandwich. Bought the sandwich, they realize that they cannot find the way back. The classmates get agitated and begin to go back and forth in search of professors, of the teachers. Mirko, as usual, freezes and starts crying, but in doing so, he attracts the attention of an urban policeman who asks him, why are you crying? And then he helps Mirko and his classmates to find the professor. Third round, the final 2 cards poison the offense. The card is this: you will never find a job. This is an example of card. And the form is this. The first part of the task is create a situation in which a person uses the offense contained in the card you drew against another person. There is a teacher and Marco. The teacher tells Marco, a 10 years old student, I'm exasperated. For the umpteenth time you got the math problem wrong. You don't understand anything about math. You will never able to find a job when you're an adult. This is the sentence that changed the perspective. Every poison has an antidote. This is my sentence, but I think that people will agree with me. The second part of the task, now write the answer that the offended person gives. In this case, the flaw is not disputed. Teacher, maybe you are right and I will not be able to find a job where so many numbers are used, and so it's not disputed, this offense. But there are so many jobs that I like and that I can do because they do not have to do with numbers. 3 points to determine the winner. 1 point for the most original solution, 1 point for the most realistic solution, and 1 point for the best staging. Constraints. Constraints must be placed on solutions given by students. In fact, there are easy solutions that do not stimulate students to look beyond. For example, I've experimented this card game 3 times, and in a class with 16 years old students, the alternative use of useless objects first round was often that of a weapon to eat people. And in the case of the defects, the easy solution was to avoid, thanks to fear, a situation that would later prove unpleasant. A constraint in the first case is objects must not do harm. In the second case, the defect must make sure to deal with the situation, not avoid it. This activity is useful to do in classroom for both bullies and bully victims. Bullies learn that the flaw they attack is only a small part of a complex person with many resources. Victims learn that they are bigger than their flaws, they are sun and must shine.